I'm going to call the meeting to order. My name is Roberta Davidson. I'm this year's chair of the election committee. And we'll start with Sana down at your end. Identify yourself.
I'm Sana Hearn, or Sana Sterling, and I've lived here in Sun City West for 8 years, and I have worked with this committee in the past.
I'm Merle Schwepke. I've lived in Sun City West part-time since 2014 and full-time for the last 7 years, and I have been on the committee also previously.
Hi, my name is Ann Brown. I've lived in Sun City West almost 13 years. I've been a full-time resident, or a resident of Arizona for 10 years, and now a full-time resident here. I just finished a term of 3 years on the governing board, and before that I worked on the board development committee. So I'm happy to be a part of the election committee.
Thank you, everybody. We have established a quorum. Our next task, even though we only have 2 members who were on the last committee, did you see any changes or corrections to the January 31st minutes?
No.
Okay.
And I move that we approve those.
Oh, wait, I forgot one other person. Luann, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Luann Kent. I live full-time in Sun City West and enjoy every minute of it. I've lived here for 6 years, and I have been on the elections committee previously because I think it's such an important, elections are such an important component towards making our community a wonderful place to live.
All right, thank you, Luann. So if we don't have any changes to the minutes, we'll approve them as written. Okay. Going through the administration housekeeping, I think everybody's been on one of the committees and or been on the board. So I don't think we have to go through much, except we need somebody to take the minutes. Don't see everybody jumping at that. Okay, thank you very much. And then if you'll look through the roster, which is on the back of the sheet of all the committees, and make sure your email and telephone is correct. Okay. Right. If there are no corrections to that, we'll move on to, I'm sure everybody knows how to get to BoardDocs. That's where all of our agendas and the link to YouTube is for the meeting. And our committee roles and responsibilities, basically this year, like past years, tomorrow, people can start picking up their packets for the elections. We'll be electing 3 board members in March. People pick up their packets tomorrow, and they have until the first business day in January to get their packets back. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout this time for the election. I know last year they only had 3 candidates, so there was no election, just like when Ann and I were elected. So moving on, policy C2. Somehow I'm missing my packet. Here it is. No, I have it here. My bigger one. All right. Karen must know I'm blind. She blew it up. All right, so we're guided by policy C2. This is a governing board policy on the annual election of directors. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think the timetable is important. That, as I said, first business day in November, which is November 1, starting tomorrow. Candidates can pick up their packets. And then the first business day in January, you have to submit your packet back with your petition signed. Recommend over 200 in case you have some that are invalid or they can't read. And then the whole schedule is printed out later. We have board candidates' pictures are taken. And then we have a candidate training session, which will be in January. And Luann, you still going to lead that?
Yes, I'm happy to do that, Roberta.
Okay, thank you. And then we have candidate forums. And everybody has to be signed up and ready to vote in March. And if you're a homeowner and you have access and you've been buying tickets to things and all, you and can log into the portal, you should be able to vote. And this is for full-time residents. We don't allow renters. And all the dates will be posted. Do we have any questions? Yes.
Madam Chair, I think what you probably mean to say, this is for owner members. You don't have to be a full-time
Right,
resident.
owner
but
members, thank you.
Owner members.
Thank you for the correction.
You bet.
Yeah. So that's our election guide, that's in C2. And on your petitions, and once you get the petitioner's packet, it's important for you to read through that because it tells you where you can and where you cannot get signatures. It's basically you can't do it inside any rec center property. But outside, I know Dick Rhodes, when he was running, he would stand outside at every board meeting and get people coming in. I was lucky. I belonged to one of the biggest clubs in Sun City West. Oh, it was easy standing outside at a meeting. So all the voting is either online or in person. And then on election day, at the close of polls, at the resource center at the library, they announce the winners. And I'm hoping and encouraging a lot of people to run, so we actually have a real election this time. I think the community needs people to step up and to run for board. And if you have any questions on how it is to be a board member, you have 2 people here who've been on the board, and you have current board members you can also talk to. So the election rules for candidates, that is in the packet. And like I said, there's a petitioner's packet, and that will have all copies of your petitions to get signed. And you have to remember on the back of the petitions, you have to sign them. That's especially important if you are using other people to get your signatures. And that's pretty much C2. So do we have any questions on policy C2?
Madam Chair, if I can just point out
Yeah.
that there's no collecting signatures or doing anything inside club rooms or via club resources such as email addresses, so just to be clear on that.
Right. You have to be outside the facility. And the packet has where you can collect your signatures. So I sent out to everybody a copy of the petitioner's packet. Did anybody see anything in there that needed to be changed or added to it? Because I think the last committee did a thorough job on that. So if there are no additions, Luann, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
All right, thank you. So we'll accept it as written. Next meeting, we'll do the candidates package. Okay. Lost my agenda. Out of practice. Okay, reviewing the key dates. Pick up your packet on November 1st. You bring in your petitions. Be sure to make sure you sign them on the back on January 2nd. On January 5th, the signatures are verified. And then the qualified candidates are notified. On January 18th will be a candidate orientation training. And then on January 18th, also candidates' photos will be taken. And then on March 6th, we will have a candidates forum that will be held here. And there'll be two of them, one in the morning and one in the evening, so that we get people who cannot come out at night or at work and need to come in the evenings. And then March 18th, we are beginning online voting. On Election Day on March 25th, at the Data Resource Center at the library, then they will have voting in there for those people who are unable to use online voting. And then that afternoon, the results are announced. So this committee has a short timeline, and hopefully everything will run smoothly. And again, we get more than 3 candidates.
Madam Chair, I might add that while the deadline for the petitions is January 2nd, if anyone has their petitions filled out, they can turn them in sooner, and that gets the process of verification going earlier for them.
And Roberta, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I would also add that the two candidate forums, well, they're different formats. The first one will be questions and answers that are handed out to each of the candidates by the committee. And the second one, which is held in the evening, is more of a meet and greet where people can talk to the candidates. But it won't be on the same question answer format as the first one.
All right, thank you. Let's see, where are we? The L3. All right. So policy L3 is basically outlines a board policy on where you can get your signatures. It says authorized use of association property for association-specific political activity. This has nothing to do with like regular state or local government. This has to do with only specific activities for board or other elections. Because I know in March, we're also going to be voting on a state policy that came out about parking. So hopefully that'll bring out more people to vote. So this is the policies that basically outlines where you can and cannot be to gather your signatures. And we would hope that everybody adheres to that, because if you were told or found out that you were inside of a rec center, like at a club meeting and stuff, and securing signatures, those signatures will be considered invalid. So it's very careful that candidates adhere to the policy.
Roberta, could I add something, please?
Yes, ma'am.
It probably comes under more petitioner packet, but I think it's important for our owner members to realize that when they sign the petition to enable someone to run for the position, it does not mean they are supporting them or voting for them to run for the position. It simply means that they agree and we want as many candidates as possible. So don't confuse signing the petition to enable someone to run as meaning that you are voting for them or necessarily even supporting them for that position, if that makes sense.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. That's true. I know last time when people were collecting signatures, some people wouldn't sign. They said, well, I'm not going to support him. And I said, doesn't hurt to sign someone's petition, so at least we get the correct number of people running, at least 3 or more. So that's a good point. Yes.
I might add, too, that it's incumbent upon the candidates who take out the packets to make sure that anyone that they give a petition to get signed, to make sure they are aware of these rules. Just don't sign it and say, here, will you go get me some signatures? You need to tell them that they cannot be inside the walls of any facility. Now, if you're outside the library, like I did when I ran for the board, that's fine. You can be outside at anything. But they need to know, the people who are getting signatures for candidates also need to be aware of all these rules.
Thank you. All right. So for the pickup tomorrow, I'm going to do 8 a.m. And some, I think you said you could do in the afternoon? What time? Yeah.
How long are you going to be there?
I was going to be there in the morning up till around noon.
Okay, then I can come, I'll come at noon.
All right. Do you have anybody else who can come? Luann's out of town, so. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Could between 8 and 10 and noon and on through the afternoon.
Work it out with Sana, and then I'll just do the morning
Okay.
up until noon. Okay?
Which one would you rather do?
Gentlemen, you want to run the videos? Did Karen not arrange that?
We could just talk through the webpage that's dedicated to the election rather than actually watching the videos.
Okay,
Just
that'd be
point to it
great.
if that's all right.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah, so we've got this, and it's off the main website under, I believe it's under members. Martin, are you able to show them? Yeah, so the very top tab under members is the 2024 election. When you go there, it'll have all the information about the packets, it'll have the dates, and then it's got the videos on there, and it's also talks about that referendum because of the state law change, so that's gonna be huge for us. And I think the videos are on the bottom, yeah. So the videos are on the bottom with a couple of directors talking about what it's like to serve and what encouraged them to run. So happy to answer any questions on that.
That'll be a good resource. Thank you, Katie. Also, thank you for all the advertising in the Rex News and the E-News. So we've gotten the word out that the election's coming, so hopefully we'll get more candidates. I think that covers election PR.
Yeah, just one last thing on that. We will do a lot more PR in the Rec News and online about registering for the online voting. So membership has to have your email address, and it has to be unique to you, not shared with the spouse, because here in Sun City West, we vote, every owner or member votes. Associates don't vote, tenants don't vote, and spouses, if they want to vote online, cannot be sharing an email address on file, so.
Katie, I noticed that on these important election dates on the website, it says Wednesday, January 3rd, for packets to be turned in by 3 p.m. On this key dates, it says the deadline is 2 p.m., January 2nd. Which of those is correct? They need to
It would be the
agree.
first business day in January, so we'll get that corrected.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure what she meant by candidate radio Q&As. Well,
Have we ever had that? Have we ever had a Q&A on the radio for the candidates?
not that I know of. We
I'm-
didn't do it.
No, we didn't, but I wonder if they've had them when they've had more than 3 candidates. Wouldn't be a bad idea if candidates would agree to it.
Mhm.
Or they might record the candidate Q&A that happens, I believe it's on March 6th, and replay that on the radio.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
Might be a good idea.
Roberta, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, I believe it was something that we talked about in the past to maybe have, some time on our own Sun City West radio station. However, I think it's worthwhile for putting this on our agenda for next month for further discussion and decide exactly how we want to proceed on it.
It's something we can discuss maybe at our next meeting. Okay.
Yes.
All right, do we have any comments from committee members? Katie, you have anything to add?
I just hope people will get out there and pick up the petitions. I know there's a lot of discord in our community, and that should prompt people to run for the board. That's how you can make a difference. Get on the board. If you don't get elected, just get on a committee and try again.
Okay. All right, do we have any guest comments? Well, being there, oh, okay, yes, go ahead. Yeah, please state your name and your rec card number, please.
Mary Gainett, 133113. And I'm speaking as a resident. So anywhere outside of the facilities is okay, like right out on the patio here, they can collect signatures in any golf course or anywhere, as long as it's outside of the building? Okay. And you said when the day of the election, you get online voting, and then the only other place to vote is at the library? Okay. And
Yeah,
how
you
does
start on the 18th, March 18th,
the voting?
the online
Okay.
voting. And then the last day is when they have the, at the resource center.
Okay. And at the resource center, then once all that stuff's in and you announce the results, what happens between then and the announcement? Who's doing what? Who's counting? Who's going through all that?
Katie?
So we have an external vendor that he'll close the polls, he'll send us a certification, it'll go to the board secretary, who'll make the announcement.
Okay. An outside vendor, meaning, can you tell me who or?
They are called Vote Now, I believe, Vote Now LLC, based in Florida.
Okay, I just want to, and then, what was my other question here? Hold on. And I guess the other thing I'd kind of like to know, if they do have a recall or there's a vote, how is that handled differently than a regular?
So the procedures will be the same in terms of having a in-person voting and an online voting. The timeframes may change because, you know, as state law, we've got 30 days to call the election, hold the election, and conclude the election. And so we might not have 3 or 4 days of online voting, but we would have online, we would have in-person. Same thing, if you have an email on file and you're a NONA member, you could vote online. If the timing of the petitions comes in, that we can coordinate it with the regular March election, we would do that. If not, we would do it within 30 days of receiving that.
Okay, and it would be the same thing, this Vote Now would handle all that?
Yeah, I mean, we
Same
would
thing.
have to make sure they're available for it, but that's the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, may I have your name, please?
Okay. Mary Gainett,
Thank you.
133113.
Thank you.
Hi, Nick Turner, 131829, speaking as a resident as well. Just some clarification on the inside and outside of buildings. Does things like the Breedsway at Beardsley and the courtyard at Koontz, do they count as inside or outside?
So that's in the packet. According to the packet, the 2 courtyards are considered common areas. So petitioning is allowed, but during events, it is not allowed.
Okay, thanks.
And so, and I don't see anything on golf courses, but my presumption is that it would be at the entrances and the exits of the golf courses, but not on the playing area, and not in the pro shop. So any. Yeah, and like Beardsley Park, if there's nothing happening there, it would be fine. If there's an event happening there, you'd have to be outside the entrance to the exit.
So you could, if there's an event at Beardsley, you could collect signatures in the car park, for example. as
Yeah,
people
just
head-
not like on the sidewalk. We don't want people in the parking lot for safety reasons.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Yes.
What about in the pool area at RH Johnson?
You have to be out. I believe you have to be outside the building.
Outside the building, even though the pool's not covered?
Right,
You need
but
to be outside the
Outside
building.
Aquatic center, outside.
Right,
and
and would that be the same for miniature golf and bocce and those type of things that are being played outdoors?
Yeah, I mean, if you think that someone is enjoying their activity, whether laying by the pool or playing mini golf, you're not to interfere with them enjoying their activity. So as they enter, as they exit, it's fine. When they're in the process of doing it, even if they're just laying out, that would be a time not to disturb them.
Okay.
One other question, I'm sorry. Would committees, when you say running for a committee, do you guys get involved in that part too?
You don't run for a committee, you fill out a
Right.
application online.
Right.
And then whoever is appointed as chair of that committee makes the
Right.
decision on who to appoint.
And if I had a suggestion on some changes to that process, who would I address that with, you or the governing board?
That goes to the governing board.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Roberta, I have a comment on the first person that asked about voting.
Go ahead, Luann.
Also, we do have something in place that if someone is a shut-in, if they cannot get out to vote and they cannot use the computer to vote online, someone will go to their home and collect their vote. Katie can say more about that on exactly how it works.
Yeah, we'll have a deadline. Thanks, Luann. We'll have a deadline for people to register for that meeting. Just request it, and it'll be up to you guys. We'll provide you with a laptop, or they can use phone voting, either way, depending on their preference. So we'll take care of them. They just need to call Karen by the deadline.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Dennis Hansel, 111074. I have a question regarding the administration of the vote. Who is our association's contact with the outside vendor?
For the IT portion of it, that would be me.
Can you explain exactly how that occurs?
Sure. So we'll find out what the deadlines are, what the dates are, when the early voting's going to be. I contact them, make sure that they're available. They give me a contract for that. And then, not to get into too many details, but basically we'll give him an export of all the owner member record numbers, email addresses, and names, and that are in good standing as of the deadline. They'll take that, they'll shoot an email to all those people when the ballot opens, inviting them to vote. When the balloting closes, he turns the ballot off. Then he sends me just an export of the owner member numbers that have voted. I don't get their names, I don't get their vote, I just get, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 voted. So that way, we can import that into our membership database to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5's already voted, they can't vote on election day and come in. Because in the past, before we did this method, there was nothing stopping someone from voting twice. Theoretically, that was way before my time, but that's the effort behind that. So then on election day, folks will come in, we'll look up on the membership program, did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vote? If they did, we'll tell them you've already voted. If they haven't voted, the volunteers here will give them a digital ballot to go over and vote on the computers in the DRC.
Who has access to the record of whether or not they voted?
Of whether or not they voted?
Yeah,
Well,
online.
I would get the import and I give it to our membership vendor, who then imports it into the program to mark them as voted. Not how they voted, not even their email address. It's just a bunch of numbers and a yes or a no. Did they vote or not vote?
Thank you.
Any more comments? Otherwise, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.